Hey guys, Joe here with Lights On for Safety. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a scope that I ordered clear back in February and it just arrived here this last week in July. This scope is from a newer company, it's called Arken Optics, and they released this model in February and they finally started shipping them here within the last month. There isn't a whole lot of information available on these scopes other than the technical information that you can find online, but in terms of actual user feedback, they're still super new to the market. So while I don't have any time looking through this and actually pulling the trigger, I can at least share with you some of my initial thoughts based on pulling it out of the box, mounting to my gun, and just kind of making some initial observations. So I'm going to go ahead and walk through most of those with you now. For those of you that haven't researched this scope, it's made by Arken Optics, which is a newer scope company. They've been around for a couple years, and they released their 60-24 by 50 with a 30mm tube, I think around a year ago. However, this model is the MOA version, and it was only announced back in February. I bought it within 2 days of it being released, and like I said, it's the end of July now, and I'm just now getting it. So this is one of the very first out there that has the MOA turrets and reticle on it, but it should really be similar to the MIL version. Because the wait to get to the scope was so long, Arken did include a complimentary throw lever, which is kind of nice because while this isn't the stiffest magnification ring I've ever dealt with, it's also not all that loose. So this really helps going from 6 to 24, makes it much faster. And it is 180 degrees that this has to spin around to do that. So that's a help. One thing I did notice when I was going over everything was the set screw that goes into that turret cap right there for the zero stop only had about a half of a turn of thread engagement. And sure enough, as soon as I put any twisting force on it at all, it stripped out, and so that set screw is no longer usable. So that is something that was definitely made incorrectly from the factory, so I've got to get a hold of Arken and see what exactly they'll do. I'm assuming they can just send me a replacement cap, but I'll keep you posted with how that goes. Like any legitimate optics company these days, Arken does stand behind their product 100%. But what's cool about Arken is they offer a 99% tracking accuracy guarantee, which means, for example, this guy's got about 100 minutes of elevation, actually just a little bit more than that. So if from very top to very bottom it deviates any more than 1 minute of angle, then that would be covered under their warranty. I don't know of any other company that would make a claim that bold, so it's pretty cool that they're willing to stand behind their product to that degree. As far as my overall impressions on this thing, having never seen one in the store and only ever seen them on YouTube and on paper, I'd say it's basically what I would expect for the price point. It's definitely a good solid scope, but by no means is it that magic snake oil that so many people were hoping for. The machining isn't perfect. As you can see, the sunshade is, off by maybe about 5/1000ths of an inch. And is that nitpicky? Yes, but I'm thinking if it were a Leopold Mark V, that probably wouldn't be the case. Another thing about these turrets is while they feel absolutely awesome, they're really loud, they feel great, they also have just a little bit of wiggle to them. And again, that's something that I would not expect to see from a Night Force or a similar scope. So the magnifier ring is fairly easy to turn, especially with this throw lever on here. It's not as stiff as some people had complained or talked about, and then the same with the parallax adjustment. It moves fairly easy. It's not super loose, but it is a little bit looser than the magnification ring actually. So again, for $600, I'm pretty impressed with it. I'm pretty excited to take this thing out and see what shooting it is actually like, especially with the extra low dispersion glass that it has that's made in Japan. That's supposed to be some pretty good stuff. So I'd like to compare this to a Vortex that a friend of mine has that's also a 6-24 by 50. It's got a smaller tube, doesn't have nice turrets like this, but it should have glass that's going to be on par with this, at least on paper. So really curious to see what exactly that's like. So I will update you guys after I actually get this thing out and spend some time behind it out on the range, and hopefully I will be updating you pretty soon. Take it easy, guys.